Welcome to It's Been How Long? The podcast about Cherry Hill High School East students from the late 1970s and early 80s. This is Kara Siegel. Well, I'd like to welcome in Fred Belchikoff to the It's Been How Long podcast studio today. Hello, Mr. B. How's it going?
Hello, Kara.
How are you?
I'm doing fine.
That's great. Well, I can't thank you enough for agreeing to be on the podcast today.
I'm glad you got in contact with CoveNet to get in touch with me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Bill told me about it.
yeah. That's great. That's great. So, where are you now, and what keeps you busy?
All right, I'm in Cherry Hill.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember a teacher, math teacher back then. Her name was Miss Komchek.
Yeah.
Well, she's my wife now.
Oh wow. Okay, that's
Yes,
who I was talking to earlier.
yes.
That's
So we are
great.
married, and we've been married since 1986,
Okay. Okay.
and we live in Cherry Hill. We both retired in 2001.
Okay.
And neither one of us can believe it's been 23 years since we retired.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
really gone fast. It's like walked out of school yesterday.
Uh-huh.
What's kept us busy? We travel.
Oh, great.
We got into the Marriott Vacation Club, which is a timeshare.
Mm-hmm.
We got into that a couple years before we retired, and it's one of the best things we ever did. Allows us to go different places 3, 4 times a year, and uh, it's been wonderful. And we golf. We
Nice.
golf whenever we got. In fact, we took up golfing because we joined Marriott.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, every time they showed us a place where we could go to, they also showed us a gorgeous golf course.
Oh, okay.
So we said to each other, "Why not? Let's do it." And for years, we would drag our clubs through the airport whenever we traveled. Now we use a thing called shipsticks.
Yes, I've heard of that.
I recommend it highly.
That's great.
Oh man, I tell you, what a savior. And we golf a lot. And
Have you
who's
have you golfed in the birthplace of golf in Scotland?
no, we haven't golfed in Europe.
Okay.
We haven't. Most only places we've golfed and done anything would be in the United States.
Okay.
And well, that's the United States.
Yeah.
So then, we were able to do that. And what's really been keeping me busy is about 9 years ago in 2015, a group of us got together, and we had I said that I was tired of walking into different schools and seeing their Hall of Fame athletes up on the wall and on all of that. And East, we don't have it. So we had a group of us get together, and in 2015, 13 of us sat down and we formed the East Athletic Hall of Fame Committee. And we've been electing inductees for the past 9 years. We didn't do it the one year during COVID,
Okay.
but we have it. And our banquet is the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
And we've been very, very, very lucky. We've been able, with technology and all that, in all the years we've done it, we have not been able to find only one person.
Oh, that's great.
And up to this year, we've inducted 114 athletes.
Okay.
And it's really been a blast, but that keeps me busy. I was selected as chairperson, and it's been great. I really enjoy it, and that's what been keeping me busy.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
Yeah, it's been
wonderful.
great.
So where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Atlantic City.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So you're
I
you're a local boy.
yes, New Jersey and everything else, and I went to Montclair State at that point in time. It's now Montclair University. I went to Montclair State. My first teaching time was in a town called Bergenfield, New Jersey,
Oh, yeah.
up in North Jersey. Then I
Hmm.
went to Greenwich, Connecticut for 7 years. And then I came to Cherry Hill East, and I
So
taught
about
there
what
till
year was it that
2001.
2000 and
I retired
oh,
in
wait, oh, yeah.
2001. I came to Cherry Hill in 78, 79.
Okay. Okay. All right. And just to run it back a little bit, so what kind of clubs or activities did you do in high school?
Wow, that's interesting because most people don't believe that in high school I was very shy.
Mm,
I did not do a lot.
okay.
I did a lot with sports. I was a scorekeeper for the basketball team.
Hmm.
I sang in the choir,
Okay.
and that was about it. Oh, I was Atlantic City was one of the few high schools at that time that still were you were allowed to have fraternities.
Oh, okay.
And I had joined a fraternity, and that basically was my social life.
All
But
right.
I was basically a quiet and shy kid in high school. People don't believe that now.
Um, well, so when you left high school or when you were in college, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Teacher,
Teacher. Okay.
yeah, I
Okay.
went to Montclair knowing I wanted to teach,
Okay.
and that's what it was. And when I was in school, when I was at Montclair in January of my freshman year, senior came up to me and said, I see you like sports. I said, yeah. He said, how would you like to be sports publicity director for Montclair? And I said, yeah, great. What's it entail? And he told me, and we did it because he was graduating. So he had to
Hmm.
give it up. And he gave it up. And I took it. So until I graduated, that's what I was, the sports the publicity director. And at that time, it was the major sports, football, basketball, baseball. They didn't have a whole lot of other sports. They got that basically after I left.
Okay.
And I would cover it and report to the newspapers and everything. So that's what got me into, you know, doing that. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was
So
good.
so roughly then, how long did you teach for?
Totally,
Yeah.
I taught for 41 years.
Okay. And about how
Yeah,
long of those were at East?
23.
Okay. Okay.
I was
And
able to buy back a couple years. That's why I had my 25 years.
okay. So let me ask you this, if you don't mind me asking. So about how old? So how
Where did
about
you that? Was
about
that from
that's from our yearbook. So
your book?
about how old were you when you taught the class of 80?
Wow.
If you don't mind me asking.
No, I'm trying to figure it out. 80, I was born at 39. 40, about 41, 42 years old.
Okay. Okay. All
Oh
right.
my God. I think going back, I do that a lot because when we do the Hall of Fame, I have to go back to high school and and in our booklet that we have, we put the high school picture
Right.
of the inductee.
Sure.
Okay. And I go back, and the funny thing is, we induct coaches,
Okay.
and I go back, and there are some pictures of some of the coaches I could blackmail them, for God's sakes. There's no, I tell them I'm going to put this in the booklet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
That's
but I
great.
don't because it's hysterical. I mean, those older pictures are unbelievable. They're funny.
Yeah.
They're great. They
So
really are.
what classes did you teach at East? I know you're a math teacher,
I
but
thought
which ones?
this is funny. When I was up in Greenwich, Connecticut, when I got the call that two friends of mine that I had known for years, Mr. Branch and Mr. Krantz.
Yeah.
All right, they got in touch with me and said they had a math open
Okay.
at East. Would I be interested? And long story short, yeah, it worked out. I got it. So in August, I came down and I talked to the department chairman at that time, Mr. Alderfer,
Hmm.
and then he gave me what I was going to teach. I was going to teach algebra and geometry.
Okay.
Fine, and I took the books and I started making lesson plans. Well, the first day I come down and we have our new teachers meeting, shall we say, and Mr. Alderfer walks up to me and says, I need you to do me a favor. Now I haven't even started teaching, and I don't know I can say no to the favor. I go, what is it? He said, well, unfortunately, one of our math teachers took another job not in, he went to stocks and bonds,
Okay.
and he got out of teaching. And I need somebody to teach this senior course called Applied Maths. And it's 5 classes of seniors. And Mr. Neck, who taught the other, there were two sections of it.
Okay.
So, Glenn Neck got me through it. He
Okay.
told, what we're teaching and everything else like that. And I taught 5 classes of seniors.
Wow.
I loved it.
Okay.
Garrett, it was absolutely, in fact, to this day, funny thing was, we just inducted, you might remember Alex Gonzalez. He
Mm-mm.
played football and baseball.
Okay.
And at the banquet, there were 5 of them. His wife and 3 of their friends who I taught in applied math.
That's great.
It was hysterical. It was funny.
Was that the only year you taught that, or you
No,
that's what
I
you
taught
started?
for a couple of years. No, I taught
Yeah.
applied math for a couple of years, and then they decided to play around with it. So then I got to teach. I taught geometry, mostly geometry and algebra.
Okay. But your favorite was that applied math class?
What was my
What was that your favorite class to teach, the applied math?
If I look back on it, yes, it was.
Okay.
I what I didn't think I'd like, I love.
Yeah.
I thought it would be hard, but it wasn't. Once I got it, once you got the information and got what we were going to do in the course and everything else like that, it was fit. And it's a shame that they don't have it today.
Yeah.
They did away with it. And it was one of those courses where I could walk in on the first day and tell them, look, this is probably your first math course where you can't tell me you'll never use it.
Oh, that's good. That's true. It's applied. So
To this day,
yeah, yeah,
I see kids and they said they use it
yeah,
constantly.
that's great. Did
You
you
know,
did you coach anything or staff any clubs or anything?
this is another funny story. Doug Lyons, you remember
Yeah,
Doug?
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Doug Lyons was in charge of sports activities at that
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
He's another one. I teaching for about 2 weeks. Doug comes up to me and says, I need you to do me a favor.
A lot of people needed favors from
Man,
you.
I want to tell you, well, it's easy. You go to a first year teacher, ask them for a favor. They're not about to tell you no in the second week of school.
Good
So you
point.
had a pretty safe bet that you were going to do it. And I had coached when I was up in Greenwich, but I coached middle school,
Okay.
girls softball. Okay. So Doug says, I see by your resume that you coached girls sports. I go, yeah, I coached in middle school, Doug. Come on. Coaching? He said, well, we need a freshman girls basketball coach. But he says, I need it for 1 year. Okay. Do it this year. Next year, I'll find somebody, but it'll give me more time. Can you do it for 1 year? I said, sure. 31 years later, I gave it up.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Well,
I
I was
loved
on
that.
so it must have been the winter of 77, right? Because I started in 76, and I guess it would have been winter of 77. I was on that freshman girls basketball team. It was the last time I played organized basketball, other than in our driveway. I could
That's
not
funny.
keep that was not my I could not keep
Yeah,
up with
good
everybody.
to back and then. You played with Sue Shu,
Um, no.
Jackie
So
Klapsack,
Betty Jane was
BJ
my year.
Zellers.
Betty
She
Jane.
is in. We inducted Betty
Yes.
Jane was inducted in the first year of the Hall of
Yeah.
Fame. That's
Yeah.
how good we thought she was.
Oh yeah,
And in
she's
fact, she was she liked being inducted so much. She's now on the committee.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
She's now on the committee. You remember Mike Meyer played
I know. Yeah.
football.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, he's now on the committee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once they got into the Hall of Fame, they both wanted to be part of the Hall of Fame committee, and they are
That's good.
big part
That's good.
of it.
So Here's a question from one of my friends. I was looking for more questions. What really happens in the teachers' lounge?
Well, when you say in the teacher's lounge upstairs in the math teacher's lounge,
Oh, okay. So you had your own private little.
oh, each department had their own,
Okay, okay.
each department had it. But the best time we had was when we had the lunch period,
Yeah,
when you went down to lunch and you could eat with people from all different, you know, subjects and disciplines and everything else like that. But it was mostly, we would talk about, uh, what's going on in our lives, you know, about the subjects that we taught, what we were doing. If because you'd get together with other people who are teaching the subject, and if you had to make up a test, you made sure everything was covered, and that everybody was covering everything, and I mean, and then in the lunchroom, it was just a ball of laughs. You know,
yeah.
yeah.
So, so what was a lesson that you crafted for your class that was really successful?
And the applied math one,
Anything.
well, that's where you really crafted different things about it. The one unit that I thought was interesting was where they had to create a household budget,
Okay.
and we gave them an X amount of money, and we listed all the things on the board that you had to come out of this and
Hmm.
everything else like that. And we told them to go home, talk to your parents, see what insurance costs, car insurance costs, and all that, and come up with a budget. And the funny thing was, they came back and they said, I can't afford a tent to live in
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
this. And it opened their eyes to what exactly,
That sounds like a
you
class
know,
everybody needs. That sounds like a
well,
class
I
everybody needs.
I said that for years, and Glenn said it for years, and we tried to get the administration to realize that this is a course that these kids can use, and
Absolutely.
and as time goes on, you would evolve the course to what's
Sure.
going on. Okay, all
Yeah.
right. I remember we brought in some speakers. When we got to when I got to stocks and bonds, I brought in a friend of mine who was into stocks and bonds,
Hmm.
and he spoke to them and answered their questions about it, and it was eye opening to them.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, they didn't.
I have classmates now who are in their 60s. They still don't know about stocks and bonds.
Right,
Yeah.
okay? But at least this gave them a foundation when they look at it and,
Yeah.
you know, and do they know the difference between them and, investing in it and
Yeah.
stuff like that? So is that. So, yeah, there were a couple great units
Yeah.
that we
Sounds like
were
it.
able to do. And the other thing was, the big one was they had to fill out an income tax.
Oh, wow.
We
Yeah.
gave them, we gave them information. They had to fill
Give the
out different
1040.
forms.
Yeah.
Oh, 1040, the capital gains,
Schedule, the schedule
and
this, schedule
schedule.
that.
Yeah, yeah, right. And even, as I said, kids today, they now know, they can identify with the different schedules that they're using now in their life,
Yeah.
you know.
So what was a lesson that you tried, but it failed miserably?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think we did. I
Okay.
don't think there was I don't think we taught a unit that they didn't like.
Okay.
There wasn't any unit that, again, that they could say, I'm never going to use this again.
Right.
Okay. I
That's
mean,
great.
even a small unit back then, we
Hmm.
taught how to balance a checkbook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Important. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Back then, you wrote today, you may not need it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have checks.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I can't remember a unit where Glenn and I sat down and said, we got to do away with this unit. It's not doing what we want,
Okay.
or they don't seem to have an interest in.
Yeah.
So we kept them.
That's great.
So it was great.
So I don't know if you can remember back to 1980 in our class
I'll try.
versus versus um, the last class you taught before you retired. So like a 20 years is a generation. What was the
2001.
biggest difference? What was like what would you say?
I'd have to say at that time, I saw how do I put this? Decline in how hard they worked
Mm,
in the classroom.
mm,
Um, they wanted it all given to them. They didn't want to go out and do like project work,
mm.
you know, um, research. They wanted the answers ASAP. And we we all saw that come. It was just gradual, okay? And um, I think that was one of the biggest changes.
Yeah.
You
They
know,
didn't have to spend their
in
Saturdays buried in the library
yeah,
stacks
yeah,
pulling
right,
down
yeah,
materials
and I think it
or on
got because
microfiche.
yeah, you know, well, the concept of social media was beginning, okay,
Hmm.
and that meant a lot, that took up time and everything else like that. So yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that we saw.
Yeah.
Um, their enthusiasm, their commitment. You guys, when I first came to East, and for years until 2000, at the end of the 90s,
Hmm.
but more in the beginning of the 2000s and everything else. Um, the commitment to education, and that was probably the most glaring thing.
Mm. All right. So I'm not looking for a student's name here, but more, about a student who stood out in your career that you remember. And what was it about that student that stood out?
Now you're asking me to pick one. See, I was coordinator of student activities. And I was also at some point in time the head of student government,
Oh wow.
so I met a lot of kids, Kara.
Okay.
And I met a lot of great kids.
That's great.
Okay. A lot of great kids that I still keep in touch with. You remember Meg Phillips?
Yeah, yeah. She was in my class.
Meg and I have lunch every once in
Oh, that's great.
a while.
Tell her you were on this podcast and she should get in touch with me.
Okay, I will do that.
Sounds good.
Um, but like from back then, like BJ and
Yeah.
Mike that I see often now because they're on the committee. Um, the gentleman that was just elected mayor of Cherry Hill was a student of mine
Oh wow. Okay.
in student government, Dave
Hmm.
Fleischer.
Okay.
I said, when he got into politics, he was president of town council here in Cherry Hill for years.
Hmm.
And now he just ran for mayor and won.
Okay.
And I could have told you back then, this doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
Okay. It
Yeah.
didn't. It didn't surprise me he went into government. It didn't surprise me that he was elected to town council, that he became mayor. Didn't surprise me. There are a lot of kids back then, names I remember. I wish somehow, I would love to find out, where they are, what they're doing, contact them.
Hmm.
They're just, you know, and a lot of times what's great about this Hall of Fame is that when we induct somebody, they invite their friends from high school.
Yeah.
So it's like a reunion for me to see all these kids
Oh, that's great.
again.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I don't know if I could pick
Okay.
one one person. Okay.
Okay.
I can pick a number of people.
Okay.
I can pick a number of
All right.
because most of the athletes that we're inducting that were there from 78 on,
Hmm.
I knew very well because I
Hmm.
followed sports.
Right.
I went to the games and things like that. So I knew who they were. And so when we induct them and I see them, it's great,
Yeah.
you know.
All right. So was there any event that stood out during your teaching career? And this could be, I mean, it could be societal, it could be within the, campus itself. Just something that is really stuck with
Yeah,
you.
there were a number of them. When you're coordinator of student activities, you deal with them all.
Hmm.
Okay. I think one of the best things that I took over, Doug started. It was the Fraternal Order of Police Christmas party
Hmm.
for disabled kids from
Hmm.
different schools, Bancroft, I forget some of the other schools. And we held it at that point, it was the Hyatt,
Okay.
okay? Big Hyatt. We took over the 3 ballrooms and we had, I would say, close to 1,000 kids,
Oh, wow.
okay? But it grew because they used to do it in a fire hall,
Hmm.
okay, when it was smaller. And Doug would take about 3 or 4 kids over and just help out and, talk to the kids and things like that. Well, I took it over and it expanded itself to where, as I said, we would have to meet, we would have it at the Hyatt House and, or the Hilton. I forget what it was called back then. The Hyatt, wasn't it? Yeah. And, again, we had like 1,000 kids, but it became so big at East that we would take 300 kids over
Oh, wow.
on one day. And the kids would work for a couple of weeks prior to the date, decorating, just doing decorations. And then we would get over the day before, the night before, and we would decorate the room. And we built a big throne where Santa could sit on. Okay. And that's probably one of the biggest events that I had to deal with or that I was in charge of. But it was so well. What made it really worthwhile were the number of students that came back to me and said they went into that field
Mhm.
because of that
Oh,
program.
wow. Yeah.
Okay. They went into working with the disadvantaged and because of going to that party that day.
And having that experience. That's great.
Oh, absolutely. It was a
Yeah.
phenomenal experience for the kids.
So what's an interesting life lesson you learned from a student?
Wow. I think I learned that it's important how you treat them, you know? Uh, knowledge, just spewing knowledge to them isn't enough.
Yeah.
You have to realize who they are and that they're different, that each one is different in their own way. And you adjust to, different classes. That's what I liked about teaching is every day was different.
Mm.
Okay. And every year was different.
Yeah.
And it just made me understand that a little more.
Hmm. That's
I don't
great.
know. Is that what you were looking for? Or
Yeah. No, I
yeah,
think that's
okay,
a really valuable,
okay,
yeah, really
okay,
valuable point.
yeah.
So what was a teaching point you wanted every student to learn from you, or the one thing you wanted every student to walk away from your class knowing?
That they were successful. They could be successful, even though it may not have been a course that they liked. Everybody didn't jump up and down coming into algebra and geometry. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Surprised me too, but you began to learn that. But that they had some success in it. okay? And that with a little work, they could do it. You know,
Yep.
they could do
That's
it.
a good lesson to
Yeah,
walk away.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good lesson
But
to take away for sure.
I
So
wish,
it's just,
I hope that,
yeah,
and I'm gratified when kids tell me that they enjoyed my class and that I was a good teacher.
yeah, yeah. And I suspect I'll know the answer. I know the answer to this, but I'll ask the question because it is my last question here is: if you had it all to do over again, would you
I'd
still
do
be
it
a
in a
teacher?
heartbeat.
Okay,
I would do it in a heartbeat.
that's great.
I, as I said, I taught in 3 different high schools,
Yeah,
and I tell you what made it. In all 3 high schools, I was coordinator student activities. Um, in Cherry Hill, as I said, I coached. Okay, I couldn't have written that if I tried. I couldn't have written that script if I tried to be as good. Hey, best thing about East and everything, I met my wife.
yeah,
Are you kidding? You want to put that? That's tops.
yeah.
That's tops. But as far as teaching goes, uh, I loved it.
That's great.
I loved the people I met. I loved the kids. And going back to Romeo, if I may.
Yeah, and you want to
Uh,
define that since we didn't. That was pre starting the video. Explain what Romeo is.
Romeo is about 15 to 20 guys that taught at East that are now retired. And we meet the first Friday of every month at different restaurants in the area. We meet, except for July and August when people travel and, go, and it's not easy to get everybody together. So we go from September to June. And we call ourselves Romeo, retired old men eating out. And we sit there. And Carrot, every one of us loved it. Uh, didn't wish there was a day that we didn't go in and like it. We enjoyed the kids and we enjoyed the families we met
Yeah,
and the people. Okay. And you can just tell, you sit around and you look at, like I said, the last one we had 18 of us. It was just, you look around and you feel blessed
yeah,
that you met these guys
yeah,
and you taught with these guys and that here we are. Some of us retired 20, 25 years and we're still meeting and talking. Can't beat it.
yeah.
Can't beat it.
That's great to hear. So,
Yeah.
any final parting shots you want to say to anybody in our
Well,
class or that
I don't know
that?
who you've talked to or who you're going to talk to, but
Yep.
please send them my regards if
Well,
they remember Mr. B.
okay.
And let them know it was a pleasure teaching back then and teaching them and getting to know them, whoever they are.
Okay. I will.
And send them my regards and all the best for the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your spending time with us today.
This was fun.
Really, that was
This was
great.
fun. I
It was
enjoyed it,
great.
Kara. It's good.
All right.
Anytime you feel like it, let me know.
I will. I will. Thank
And
you.
maybe we
Thank
can
you.
do this on the first try.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds
Now we're
good.
good at it.
Yes. Well, have a
Kara,
great
take care.
holiday.
A happy
Thank you.
holiday and a happy new year.
All right. You too. Take
Take
care.
care.
Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining me on It's Been How Long? The podcast about Cherry Hill High School East students from the late 1970s and the early 80s. A shout out to my cousin Brad Corbett, whose podcast We Weren't Friends in High School inspired me to do this podcast and whose advice and encouragement have been so helpful. Thanks also to my husband, Randy Coffdale, who read all the fine print on the podcast hosting website so I wouldn't have to. And thanks to Jeff Lyons, content consultant and guinea pig, and to Deborah Smead, also content consultant. And thank you to all our classmates who are listening in. See you next week.